Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Trust Me, I Know Nothing. This episode was probably one of the hardest I've done in the show, so I wanted to put a trigger warning in the beginning. If you are triggered by conversations of miscarriage or death, this is probably going to be really hard to get through. But I wanted to have this conversation because I think it's important to talk about it, talk about miscarriages, and just try to help people feel less alone when they're going through this. The women that I've talked to for this episode have shown unimaginable strength and power, and I will forever be in awe of them. And I'm so grateful that they were gracious enough to open up and share their stories. And I really hope that if you are going through something similar, this conversation helps you.
You're listening to a show for those who aren't afraid to admit that they don't know what the hell is going on. This is a safe space to ask any question you may have in order to keep learning and growing every day. Because the truth is, there's no way to know everything. So join me as I talk to people who know a little something about life. But there's a catch. I'll also know nothing about the questions I'm going to ask. Just like in school when there was a suggestion box that the teacher would read out loud, I'll be pulling up the questions without ever seeing them beforehand. Let's just say this should get very interesting. This is Trust Me, I Know Nothing. Wait, what? Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Trust Me, I Know Nothing. This episode is going to be a little different from the others that we've done. It's a little bit more serious, but I think it's a really important conversation that needs to be had. And a few a few months ago, I was going through social media and I saw one of my, I hope I can call her a friend, one of my friends sharing her experience with a miscarriage that she went through. And it just made me think that there are not a lot of stories about this out there, at least not that I know of. And that really made me want to have a conversation about miscarriages and how we don't really talk about it and how we need to show up for people. And I was talking to my friend Jenna about this, and she shared that she went through a similar experience as Sarah, the first friend that I mentioned. So I decided to invite them both today here. So please, I just want to say welcome to Sarah Sherry and Jenna Williams. Welcome, guys. How are you today?
Thank you, Isaac. I'm good. I was telling Isaac before this, before you got on, Jenna, that doing something like this is super, super out of, kind of, I'm usually on my Instagram, like happy, funny, me and my daughter. But I feel like talking and being like vulnerable about an experience that I had, you had, so many other women have had. If we can just help one woman from listening to something like this, like I've done my job, it's worth it. So yeah, long story short, I'm good. I'm good today. So I'm excited to be here.
I'm happy to hear that. And how about you, Jenna? How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. Yeah, I definitely have been. I've always thought that more people need to talk about kind of the not so happy parts of maybe the whole journey. I know mine is a little different than most, I guess, pregnancy journeys. But I definitely just think like it's things like this are so common. Same with even just like infertility issues, anything like that, and it's just so kind of hush, and then when you're in it, it just feels like there's like nobody else, even though there's so many other people. So I think great idea, Isaac. I definitely think this is something that had to a conversation that needs to happen.
Yes, because I remember the only experience I have close to this, and I'm not even going to put myself like in that position that I understand because I don't. But my sister went through a miscarriage 4 years ago before she had my niece. And all I could remember was her saying that she had never felt so alone. So, like, that's why I wanted to have this conversation because I don't feel like it's fair for women to go through this alone. So let's hope it reaches the right people. And if, like Sarah said, if it helps one woman feel less alone, then we've done our job here. So if you don't mind, I would love it if you could share your experience with miscarriage and just tell us what you went through, what you want to share.
Yeah, so I know Jenna and my experiences are so different, and I know, every woman who has experienced this, their story is so different too. So I have a 3-year-old daughter, and when I got pregnant with her, it was such an easy pregnancy. Like, we got pregnant, I went to every doctor's appointment. I had no doubt in my mind that, like, she was healthy. This was a great pregnancy. Had her, whatever. She's, this my love, the love of my life, like, the most amazing human. And so she turned 3 years old, and me and my husband are like, okay, we want to start trying. And I have girlfriends who do have infertility issues, and, like, we've never had to experience anything like that either. So, we got pregnant. Like I said, I think the hardest part for me through the whole process is I never went into a doctor's appointment thinking something bad was going to happen. And I think that's really what got me the most, was, so I know a lot of women, when they do have miscarriages, it happens early in the first trimester. And I was actually 4 months pregnant when mine happened. So, that 12-week mark hit, and I was like, we're good to go. I'm done with my first trimester. Just the scary part of pregnancy, I guess, in my mind, was over. So I went to the doctor's appointment with my daughter. I would always bring my daughter with me because she's my little sidekick. She goes everywhere with me. Like I said, thinking it was just a regular doctor's appointment. Then they were going to just do a routine check of the heartbeat. The first nurse couldn't hear anything. And I was like, still nothing in my head. Like, she was like, he's 4 months, or you're 4 months along. A lot of times they move a lot. So, like, that's why we might not be able to hear the heartbeat. So they had another nurse come in, and same thing. And I was just like, is this happening? Like, in my head, it still wasn't real to me. And that's when the doctor came in, and he's like, we're going to do an ultrasound. And I think the hardest part is I had my 3-year-old there who doesn't understand what's going on. And she's just like, Mama, where's brother's heartbeat? And then looking at the ultrasound and seeing him not move, it's something that, like, I'll never forget. It's something that I can never, get out of my head. And yeah, then I, had to call my husband to come, my daughter being like, why are you crying, Mom? Like, what's going on? It was just like, it's something I'll never forget. And I just, like, never wish anybody to go through something like that either. So my husband came, he was just like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? We were both crying, like, all of us hugging, crying. And then obviously had to get the procedure done a couple days later. But it turned out that I was 4 months pregnant, but he actually had passed at the 12-week mark. So he was measuring only 12 weeks when it did happen. But it's just something that, like I said, I never thought I would go through. And I think just, like, the shock value of it all was, one of the hardest parts for me. But yeah, so that's kind of a little bit about, what happened to me and my story. And some days, I'm healing, and some days it's really hard because in May I'm supposed to have a little boy. So yeah, that's just kind of my story and how everything happened.
Wow. Like, I know I've emailed you about this, but I am really sorry that you went through this and that this happened. And I really do thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story, because I know it's not easy, but I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people. I don't know, Jenna, do you want to share your story?
Yeah, so my story is way different, like Sarah had said. I had just turned 21 years old, and my boyfriend at the time had cheated on me, and I went to, so we broke up. I went to Walmart, and for some reason in my head I was like, take a pregnancy test. Like, there's nothing, I was on birth control, but probably taking it not as great as I could have, as a 21-year-old often does, and like taking 2 in one day or whatever. And I just, for some reason, something was like, go take a pregnancy test. I wasn't late for my period or anything. I did it, I think it was, for me, it was like, okay, I'll do this, and it's like final, we're done. Just like, it's so small in comparison to what we just heard. But I took it, it like automatically went pregnant. It didn't even like, it wasn't even, and I was like, what? Like, I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't even late for my period. And I just remember I passed out in the Walmart bathroom. And then I just went home, and I told my parents. They were standing in the kitchen, and I just told them both. And then I remember I was like, I think it's twins. Because I always said I didn't ever want kids. But if I had kids, I wanted twins. And then we got the ultrasound, and they were like, yep, you're pregnant with 2. They told me it was twins, and there was only one sex, so they were identical. And I don't know why. Like, I'm a pro-choice person. I was like, I'm doing this. I had no intentions of like I said, we had just broken up, and I was just like, this is like, I'm doing this. And I just kind of went all in with that. Like, I remember changing my career path and like being like, how am I going to make this work with 2 babies, and just really changing my entire life. I was at a point that I was like, I mean, I just turned 21. I was doing whatever. So I changed everything. My entire like projection of life was just different. And then it was actually the same thing. I obviously got excited about it. I was like, I thought it was boys the whole time. And then at our 20-week appointment, I went to find out the gender, and I also found out that they didn't have a heartbeat. And I actually also lost them at 12 weeks, but I had never had any sign. I didn't have any sort of like, the whole time I thought they were alive. And like 20 weeks is a long time to just like be attached to the idea. So I found out I had also miscarried and had to do the procedure and everything. But I was like, it just rocked my entire life. I was like, at that point, obviously there's a lot of emotions and stuff. I just remember like bawling. I didn't have like the like for her dad, or for the who would have been the dad, my ex at the time, who's also actually my daughter's father. I also have I have a 4-year-old now, but he like, it was a relief to him. So I didn't have like any sort of support in that way. Obviously my parents were upset, but I just remember like telling my mom, like, I just wanted to die. It was like the most heartbreaking thing that I've ever experienced in my life. And even though like I wasn't planning on it, it was just so many waves of like what's to come. And it was just like, it definitely, I've never felt more pain. And then obviously when I got pregnant years later, at 24, I got pregnant with my daughter, and I was just so paranoid the entire time that like I was going to miscarry. I definitely never thought it was going to. And then like, you're just laying there, and we're just like, I'm like waiting to find out if it's a boy, and they're just like, nah, they're not there. So yeah, similar stories, just kind of different ends of the spectrum.
And both happened so far along in our pregnancies too. It's like, yeah. And I think we found out the gender at 10 weeks. And like you said, like when you got pregnant again, you were like, nervous the entire time. Like, I feel like when we, hopefully get pregnant again, like, I'm not going to want to find out the gender. I'm not going to want to know anything because I'm going to be so nervous and like, I don't want to get attached, and it sucks. Like, that's something that you should be happy about. Like, you should be happy about being pregnant. You should be, but now it's just going to be filled with so much, scared, like so much worry and everything.
Yeah.
Well, just, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Like, I can't even begin to, I don't know. Like, I can't pretend to know what you've experienced. That's why I'm like just quiet and listening right now. But I'm so sorry you both went through that. Like, it sucks because I think what you mentioned is you have to grieve an idea of something and like the attachment, and there's no right way to do that. So you feel a little lost, I feel. So,
and I mean, it's literally like a part of you died. Like you're literally creating like an entire human, and then it's not, it's not just like, it is definitely an idea, but it's also like, I think it's very just like it at a physical, like I think it's just an entirely out of our control type of thing, that it's just like an attachment that's just like a deep pain because it's really like part of you.
did it ever happen to someone you knew before it happened to you?
Okay, I'll go first. So it's crazy. When I had my miscarriage, I truly knew maybe one or two people who it had happened to. And when I came out with my story, and just kind of shared it on my Instagram, I have never, like, my mind was blown at how many women this has happened to. Just, friends I didn't know had them, and family members that I never knew had experienced a miscarriage either. And random, like, people on the internet, it was just like one after the other. And somebody sent me a message that was like, we're part of this club, you can say, that no woman ever wants to be a part of, but the community that does come with it is unlike any other. I mean, like I said, my mind was blown. I had no idea how many other people I knew or heard of or talked to in the past, whatever, have experienced something like this before. It's nice. And that feeling, it's just really nice to know that you aren't alone in something like this, because so many other women can relate to what you're going through as well.
For me, I was actually only 20. I think I had just turned 21. So it was not at all planned or expected. I was at a point in my life where I didn't even like, if kids were at a table at a restaurant that I was serving at, I was like, no, like I wasn't at all minded like that. So no, I definitely didn't. Miscarriage wasn't even a thought, because pregnancy really wasn't even a thought when I did get pregnant.
Like, why do you think it's taboo to talk about this if so many people that we know now, after like going through this and that they reach out, why do you think it's taboo to talk about it?
I think it's such a strong emotion and such like a deep pain that, you just lost somebody. Like, you lost somebody you're growing inside of you for however long. I personally, in my experience, when it first happened, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't even want to talk to my husband. It was like I needed to just grieve with myself. But then also when I started talking about it to other people, I felt better. I think it's just the initial, like, it's something so private and so just like heartbreaking that you want to keep it in for yourself. And then a lot of people don't talk about it like we are, Jenna. And I feel like you don't see a lot of resources for you see a lot of resources for when it first happens, but the months and years after it happens as well, like you need support groups and you need people to be on your side. Like if I didn't have my friends and family who were willing to listen and support me through this time, I really don't know like how I would have gotten through it. Like Jenna said, like I was in a deep, dark place when it first happened as well. But yeah, I just think people aren't open about it. And there just needs to be more resources for women and families and children. And my 3-year-old still doesn't understand. She still asks, "Where's baby brother?" Like it's just hard.
And how do you explain that to her?
So we told her, I think it was like the day after, because obviously she was in the doctor's appointment with us. And so before we found out that he had passed, like she would always, touch my belly, and we had a name for him. Like it was so bad. We had a name. His name was Walker. Like she was going to have a baby brother. She knew everything about him, but also he wasn't like something she could hold yet. So I think that also is kind of confusing for her as well. But after it happened, we just told her baby brother got sick and he's not going to be with us anymore. And he's just in a better place now. And, it's crazy. Like only being 3, she has a lot of emotion. She can feel emotion hard like I do. And she just kind of like put her head down and like walked away and like kind of like needed time for herself. And like once in a while she'll bring it up, like, "Where's baby Walker?" But it's just, I don't know. I don't even know what the right way to go about it is with her, because we haven't really talked about death with her yet. And just that whole idea and everything. So, we just told her he got sick. He's in a better place now. He's not in mama's belly anymore. So yeah, I think that was probably like the most besides everything else, that was, so heartbreaking for her to have to go through it too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's like a right or wrong way to do this. I think you just do the best you can, and I think that's what you're doing right now. So that's all you can do, I think. But I also, like I mentioned, both of you have been completely open about it, and that's why I wanted to have you both. Why did you decide that it was important to be open about it?
I mean, it hasn't been my journey, but I think the pregnancy, so many of my friends are going through it right now. And the pregnancy journey is just very like intimate. And when a lot of times you are trying to get pregnant. And so like, there is like an end, there's a goal there. And like, for me, it was just all like kind of in the air, but when there's a goal, and I was always very open with what happened, but when there's like, I don't want to call it a goal, but you know what I mean? Like there's a point to what's going on. Like you want to have a child. And if there's ever even a little bit of kind of a hiccup along the way, whether it be it's taking some more time than you thought, or something as awful as this, it's that much more intimate, I think, and not just something like it's also maybe like, is this going to happen to me? Like, do I want to just share this? And then like, is that like, people are going to talk to you then about it? And it's like, you're still on the journey. A lot of times some people decide maybe not to be, but it's like not, when you just put it out there as that, like, that's what people are going to talk about. And you're also going to hear about it a lot. So I think it's more like, I don't know if it would be, I don't want to call it like it's definitely not like a shame. I don't know the correct word I'm looking for, but almost like, why am I like talking about not a failure either, but like that nobody talks about that stuff on openly, really. Like you see all the like rainbows and butterflies, and it's kind of the same thing. And it's like the pains is where like people need to relate. That's where people need somebody to relate to, but that's just not where people are open to kind of like be talking about. But this, I think, is just so common. And I think definitely with like, even just social media and women being able to come together, it's just a whole kind of a way that you can support each other in a way that even I think sometimes spouses might not totally understand, because it is just such a like kind of internal loss.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jenna. Like, before this happened, I would go on Instagram, and I mean, even when this happened, it's just like happy, and I love that. I love seeing people's families and whatever's going on in their lives. And it's just like, now I feel like I see so many pregnancy announcements and women, having 4 or 5, 6 babies, and something like that would have never been triggering to me before is like little things can just, turn my entire day into just sadness. And I think it's so important to show people that our lives aren't perfect, and it's not always happiness, and it's not always I can get pregnant quick. And, I can't imagine the women who have gone through a miscarriage and like don't have the support, or who don't have the community to talk to about it. Like, because some people, if you haven't gone through it, you don't understand. And it can be really hard to talk to somebody about it, if they haven't gone through it. But yeah, I think there's just so many different triggers now through social media, and my life needs to look like this, and my family should look like this now. It's important to show the real sides of life too, and the sadness and the pain. And if somebody can relate to us, then we did our part.
I remember I told you this, Sarah, when I reached out about this, that I was so impressed by you and your strength, like just being so completely open and sharing not just the beautiful part of pregnancy, but also this really horrible thing that happened. And like, I've never seen something like that. And I was so impressed by your strength. And I guess I just wanted to like give you your flowers for that, because I don't think not everyone has the strength to do that. So I want to commend you for that. And I'm sure you're helping a lot of people out there for doing that. And you, Jenna, too, by doing this with us today. I'm probably going to say it a million times more, but just thank you. And I'm really, really impressed with both of you. So you mentioned that you wanted to do this and be open because sometimes not even your partner can relate to some things, but who were you able to turn to during this?
When I went through it, I really had like my parents, I had my siblings, my friends were so young and like partying that just doesn't sound like a miscarriage. Sounds like, oh sweet, now you get to drink again, almost. Not like, well, like that became a lot more than that to me. So for me, it was definitely like I dealt a lot with it internally. Like my parents definitely were there for me and whatnot, but I did kind of deal with it in kind of, as Sarah's saying, I think it's important to have that community. Or like if I had seen somebody just on social media scrolling that would have maybe like stood out, I 100% would have reached out, because like you are just in that moment of like, I just need somebody to like truly understand me and just like everything that I'm feeling, and just kind of, so yeah.
Yeah, my husband, I mean, it's bad to say, but I feel like we got closer through this all. And it's not an amazing experience to get closer from, but he was just such a rock. I mean, he dropped everything. He took work off. He, took my daughter for days on end when I would just be locked myself in my room, like bawling my eyes out, because I couldn't even like fathom what had just happened. So he definitely was a huge support for me there. My parents, I've always been close to them. I'm an only child. They live like 5 minutes away. So they just would pick Brooklyn up whenever I needed them to. And I have also, a group of girlfriends who I've been friends with forever, and they all have kids, and some of them have experienced losses like this. And I just remember, like, when it first happened, like I said, like, I didn't want to talk to anybody, but when I did start opening up to people who were close to me, who I knew, were going to be open and not judge and understand and just let me cry, that's when I think my healing started. And I feel like people, hold it in so much, but like talking about it too, there's no right way, obviously, to grieve something like that. But I think when I did start talking about it to my friends and family and everybody, it really started my healing process.
Yeah, I can see that, just because it would also help you like gather your thoughts, right? And just not keep it in. Other than that, what do you do to make yourself feel better? Like, I don't know, maybe I know that you're sharing a lot of books that you are reading right now and stuff like that, but what are other stuff that you did to make yourself feel better?
So I started journaling, and I've never been like a journaler before, but when it first happened, I just felt this urge to buy a journal and write down all my thoughts. And this was before I wanted to really talk to anybody about it. So I went on Amazon and I got a miscarriage journal. And I just wrote, all my thoughts down, all my feelings. And I really feel like that was key to just getting everything out, but not having to say it out loud. That really helped at first. And just keeping myself busy, working out, getting coffee with my girlfriends, just focusing on me, because a part of me had died and I felt like I wasn't myself anymore. So just kind of doing anything that made me feel like me again really helped me.
Oh, and what about you, Jenna? What's something that really helped you get back to or feel better?
Yeah, I definitely, I don't think I did anything in an extremely healthy way. I totally just like really, I was still in college. So I think it happened right before school had started again. And I just kind of stayed busy with that. I was bartending and working a lot. And it was the first time I'd been able to be 21 and drink. So I kind of just disassociated myself from it. As sad as that is, I can't unfortunately say I did anything healthy to move past it, but I really just kind of like tried to go back to where I was before, because I didn't really know what else.
Jenna, I always tell my husband, like, if I didn't have my daughter when all of this happened, and if I wasn't in the place I was in, like being 21, being 20 when it happened to you, like, I really don't know how I would have gotten through it. Like, just because my daughter's, I have to wake up for her. I have to be a mom for her. I have to be present for her. And I just can't imagine like being so young and having such a different mindset when all of that happened. So even though like we both were in such different places, like, yeah, you're so strong to go through that, when you were so young.
Hey, so since you guys opened up about this with your people and on, well, in your case, Sarah, with social media, what's the best piece of advice you got from someone, and what's something that someone might said that you didn't find as helpful and you wish like to get it out there and not like have people not say it that much? Like the best and the worst advice.
I think when I first posted about it, I wasn't sure like kind of the reactions that I was going to get. I think the best advice, it's not even advice, it's just other people telling their story to me and opening up to me, because I think when you hear that this person went through it, this person went through it, it makes you feel less alone. And I think just making sure that somebody who went through this doesn't feel alone, and that, you can go to somebody to talk to. I think that's just the best advice or the best way to talk to somebody who went through this about it, and not saying it will get okay. This makes me this annoys me when somebody says it will get better. I don't know what, like, I understand it will get better, but especially somebody who hasn't been through something.
Yeah, or you'll get pregnant again.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, just things like that kind of irk me.
I still, like, when I see twins, I still am like, I just feel like I get kicked in the stomach every single time. It doesn't even like matter how old. It's just like you do just continue. You'll always have like little triggers, I think, and it's just not something you just kind of like get over. Like no amount of like future babies, I don't think will ever just like heal it. I don't know. It's a loss that you can't really explain, I don't think, unless you've been in it.
Yeah, I agree. So I received a message from somebody, a friend, and she sent it to me on Instagram, and she had gone through a similar situation. And she said, I wanted to let you know that you have permission to hide and never respond to me or anyone else. There are so many triggers on social media. Just want you to know it's okay to take a break from the world to heal. And I think that's so important, because even like a week after it happened, I started getting thoughts in my head like, should I still be sad? Should I still be grieving this? I'm like, it's been a week. But it seems like on social media that stuff happens and then people are okay the next day. So that kind of message was like, whoa, like I need to save that. I need to like put that on a sticky note. I need to remind myself that if I'm feeling sad a week, a month, a year from now about what happened to me, that is okay. It's okay. Like everybody goes through their own grieving process, and everybody's timeline is going to be different. So that just really stood out to me. I loved that.
Hey, so my conversation with Jenna and Sarah was just so powerful that I just didn't want to take anything out from it. But I also understood that I couldn't make an episode that would go on for over an hour talking about such a difficult topic. So I wanted to cut this into 2 parts so people could have time to process everything we just heard. You're going to be able to listen to the rest of this conversation on the next episode. And I really hope you tune in for that, because it's really, really powerful too. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.